ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The second segment of a conversation with the panelists and interfaith issue, immigration and interfaith issue. We will very shortly be going into the third segment when you will hear from the two remaining panelists. But we want to say before we close this segment that if you have any questions, if you have any interest in bringing a panel to your congregation, please give Pastor Tom Jones, a Justice Witness Advocate, a call. His telephone number is area code 517-231-3304. Any interest that you may have in bringing us to your location so that your congregations, so that your synagogues, so that your mosques can have a conversation on the subject of immigration and interfaith issue. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to visiting with you again and hope you will include in your daily prayers, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Until next time, serenity. That have been abandoned by us. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The second segment of a conversation with the panelists and interfaith issue, immigration and interfaith issue. We will very shortly be going into the third segment when you will hear from the two remaining panelists. But we want to say before we close this segment that if you have any questions, if you have any interest in bringing a panel to your congregation, please give Pastor Tom Jones, a Justice Witness Advocate, a call. His telephone number is area code 517-231-3304. Any interest that you may have in bringing us to your location so that your congregations, so that your synagogues, so that your mosques can have a conversation on the subject of immigration and interfaith issue. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to visiting with you again and hope you will include in your daily prayers, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Until next time, serenity. Alanis, did I pronounce that?
Castellanos.
Castellanos.
2 L's.
2 L's. She is our United Church of Christ Justice Witness Advocate in Washington, D.C. And she has joined the panel. We thank God that you made it. I don't know how anybody gets lost in Lansing, but it's
What can I say? I have been told if I think I should turn to the right, I should always turn to the left.
I see. We will be hearing from her shortly, but at this time we're going to turn the mic over to Judy M. Olson. She is a Unitarian from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greater Lansing and the Ingham Immigration Coalition. For those who will be watching this from places other than Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County is the county that that Lansing is in. Okay, for the most part, yes. So, Sister Olson, it's all yours.
Thank you.
A little closer.
Okay. If you see my hand waving, it's because I want the next slide. And I will begin by waving my hand. Very good. I'm going to start out with my immigration story. Ryan Bates at the Alliance for Immigrants Rights and Reform often says that that's what we should be doing, is telling our stories. And my grandfather and all my great-grandparents came from Norway. They came in the last half of the 19th century. The first one came in 1854, the last one in 1893, and they came to Wisconsin, central Wisconsin to be exact. One of them was a stowaway. He was escaping the draft. One came on 1 day's notice. There was passage on a boat with his cousin, so his mother packed his bag. He was a teenager. He was 18 years old. That was my grandfather. When they came here, they certainly had a very challenging life. One of the couples lost their firstborn child on the way over. They were farmers. Farming in central Wisconsin isn't an easy way to make a living. But one thing that did not happen, they were never threatened with deportation. When they checked in at Ellis Island, in fact, they could even take the name of their choice. So my grandfather, who was Isaac Martinus Johannesson Vannebu, or something like that in Norway, became Martin Isaac Johnson. And that's how I knew him. Some immigrants, of course, had their names changed because the person writing it misspelled it. In my grandfather's case, he chose it. Did they learn English? Well, some did, depending upon the age at arrival. Their children, however, were bilingual, and my parents' generation was as well. Now, why would that be? Well, my parents and their siblings had to communicate with their grandparents. There weren't babysitters back then. The grandparents helped out. So, the kids and the grandkids learned Norwegian, and in fact, they didn't speak English until they went to school. There were Norwegian church services in the church where I was baptized, as a matter of fact, our family's church at that time, until 1948. Only once a month, and of course it was controversial by that time. There was a lot of pressure not to do it and a lot of pressure to. But 1948, that's not so terribly long ago. Then the question comes, could they vote? Well, yes, the men could vote, and believe it or not, they didn't have to be citizens. They only had to declare that they were going to apply for citizenship. Two of the women were still living when women's suffrage came about. They were elderly by that time. I have no idea whether they actually practiced the vote or not. Now, compared to today's immigrants, I didn't really think a lot about that until the UU Association, the Unitarian Universalist Association, our parent organization, was considering immigration. At the end of the evening, we will show the movie Abused, the Postville Raid, which is about the raid on a meatpacking plant in Postville, Iowa. And a lot of the immigrants who were in that meatpacking plant at the time were from Guatemala. So that is the connection there. Plus the maker of the film has a connection with our congregation. There is a very worthwhile video on the internet that you might be interested in seeing that gives you a real feel for the dilemma of undocumented immigrants. It's only about 20 minutes, and I'm going to let you pronounce this, if you would.
Sin país.
Okay, that is the title of it. Translated, it is Without Country. It's a little difficult to find. I put the entire URL there, but I did find that if you look for the title of it, the Sin País, and then you put in PHP and full, F-U-L-L. Rather strange, but I think that will take you to the correct URL so that you can view it. So I am from the Ingham Immigration Coalition, and that is our email. And again, you can sign up for the listserv, the IIC listserv, at the table in the back. And I put my my personal email there as well if you would like to contact me.
Thank you. Are there questions? Do we have questions? Questions of anyone who has presented so far?
My name is Bill Mauer, and it almost seems as though this has become a states' rights issue. Made that way by the government that, along the border. Now, it's really a federal issue. Why hasn't federal government got involved in this and made sure that the laws of the federal government are enforced? Arizona has a reputation. They want to take over the national park that is there for the big ditch. And they had been stopped by the rangers, keeping them out of the park. So they are very aggressive people in that respect. What's happening with the federal government in regard to this?
Well, I can tell you a little bit. In Arizona, it's the federal government who's building the wall. It's the federal government who's putting all of the Border Patrol agents down there. So I would say that the federal government is extremely involved, certainly in Arizona.